Good morning, YouTube. Back at it again. Another episode of The World is Burning. And yes, the world is still burning. Look at this. We're looking at the US national debt here. It's just going to keep on going up, people. Boom, another 100,000. Boom, another 100,000. Boom, another 100,000. That's how quickly it's going up, people. If you're new here, this channel, we're just covering the economic issues everyone's going through and looking at some of these 2024 collapses. When you look at this number, how is it not going to collapse in 2024? Boom, another 100,000. This motherfucker is just going up. Look at these largest budget items though. 1.7 trillion Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security 1.4, Defense and War just under a trillion. And look at this interest on debt, guys. If anyone's been in debt, you understand how the interest wrecks you. With a number like this, the interest is just going to keep going up and it is unsustainable. So yeah, we got that going on, people. That's not going to stop anytime soon. But today we are looking at the rental market. There's a rental crisis still going on. If you're struggling to get a place, my sympathies go out to you. It is a pain right now. Higher rents, fewer properties, sharply raising rents, and a shortage of rental properties meant 2023 was another difficult year for tenants. According to Hamptons, the average rent on a newly let British home stood at 1,348 per calendar month. That is unsustainable, people. The estate agents added it was the seventh double-digit rise seen in the space of 12 months. Of course it was. Similarly disquieting figures from property portal Zoopla in December suggested average rents now let increase 9.7% in 2023. It's gone up 10% almost, people, and have risen by around a third in 3 years. So we've never got back to the pre-pandemic levels. And it's costing everyone an additional £3,360 per year when no one has money. Fantastic. Now seeing this sort of stuff as well, people. 42% of people struggling to pay rent or mortgage. And this is where the time bomb comes in, because we're going to start seeing a sharp increase in homelessness. Two-fifths, 42% of people are finding it very or somewhat difficult to afford their mortgage and rent payments, according to a newly published Office for National Statistics survey. They represented a significant hike compared with 34% during a period last year. Among those currently paying rent or a mortgage, 45% reported that their rent and mortgage payments had gone up in the last 6 months. So nearly half the country is facing rent increases or mortgage increases, and they don't have enough money to pay for things as is. I thought this one was quite interesting as well. This is the US, the US figures here. US continues to lose low-cost rental housing. If you see here in 2012, there was 9.3 million low income. You could rent something quite easily for under 600. In 2022, that's dropped a couple million. The 6 to 800 used to have 8 million, 9 million in there. Now we've got 5. And this is where it gets interesting. These high cost rentals, these are the ones that have been going up. So we've been losing low cost rentals, but now in 22, thankfully, we have loads of high cost rentals that we can go to. This is the one that's exploded the most. I think the renters must have realized between 1.4 and 2,000 is the sweet spot where you can get the most money. And now we are lucky enough to have 10 million of these units that we can rent. Same with this one over 2,000. Look at that. Look at that. Got another one for you here. Half of US tenants can't afford to pay their rent. Here's what's ahead. Half can't afford their rent right now. And when people are living paycheck to paycheck, this is a nightmare. So let's get into it. Let's see what some of these rental problems are going on. Let's see people's views on it. Let's get into it,
How is
people.
anyone getting a rental property in Melbourne?
God knows.
We have been looking since October. It is now mid-Jan, and we've been to about 40, maybe nearly 50 properties, and we haven't been accepted to any that we've applied to, and we've applied to maybe about 20, which is just wild. I have like 9 years worth of rental history, so I'm not new to the renter market, and I also have a stable income. I'm just so baffled. I feel awful for people who are served like an eviction notice or their rent is going up and they can't afford it, so they need to find somewhere quickly. It would almost be near impossible. We're very fortunate that our rent or anything like that, we're not being forced out, which is great. But ultimately, we still can't find a rental, which is just insane to me. How is anyone doing it? Like,
yeah, stressed out woman there. She's trying to find a house and she's struggling. This lady here, I had to offer 6 months rent in advance, but girl math, free rent for 6 months. Lauren, that isn't how it works. You see this line, people? These are all people checking a one-bedroom apartment inspection. So now you're battling all these people, and they're going to be paying over asking price. You're going to get stiffed, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Look at that. A never-ending line of people. Just to see a one-bedroom apartment. It's probably not even that nice as well. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Imagine having to go view a place as well, and you just have to walk around with all these people as well. What the hell? God, Australia is done. If you're in Australia, leave me a comment. Love to hear from you. Always love to hear from Australians.
For this one-bedroom apartment inspection for rent. I think this is a flow-on effect probably from inflation and the cost of living. If something is priced well, then the line is just going to be out the door. Wild.
Leave me a comment, guys. Who do you think is going to get it out of this list?
The cost of renting has hit a new record high. The average across the country is now more than $600 a week. The latest data from CoreLogic.
That's $600 a week, he just said there, people. $600 a week. That's $2,400 a month. Like, what the hell? Just to live.
Indicates there's been a rapid rise in the population since the end of 2022. Fewer people living together in share accommodation has also contributed to a significant rise in prices. Most expensive place to rent is Sydney, followed by Canberra, then Perth.
Wow, the Australians are getting smashed right now. Another one. Wow. See that, people? There was a ban on rental bidding. So what would have been happening here is all this line of people would have put a bid in to say how much they'd take it for. You'll get someone with a nice stack of cash who's just outbidding everyone. The landlord's the only one winning in this situation. They've banned it now, apparently, though. Wow. Absolutely chaotic.
So with BC's government's decision to increase rent by 3.5% effectively January 1st, 2024 has sparked some debate. Let's dive right into this. Minimum wage and inflation. If raising the minimum wage can ease the burden of high rents during inflation here in Vancouver, it is a valid concern. Minimum wage during inflation sounds good. Could it lead to higher rents?
Yes.
It's not that simple though. In Vancouver's competitive housing market, soaring rates could lock even more people out of larger, affordable units. But here's a question for you. What other strategies aside from higher minimum wage do you think could make rents more affordable? Would decreasing home prices impact homeowners and the housing market as a whole? Share your thoughts, keep this conversation going, and hopefully we'll find a solution together. And if you have
Yeah, Canada's wrecked as well. If you're one of my Canadian followers, please leave me a comment. How's it going up there?
So top 3 things for you to have ready if you're looking to rent. So number 1, you need to make sure that you've got all your paperwork in order. You need to make sure you've got your 3 months bank statements, your 6 months pay slips, you've got your ID. Number 2, really work out where you want to be. Go and do your research first. The amount of people we see who just aren't sure of the area they want to live in. And number 3, most importantly, make sure you've got your money ready. Don't go and look at properties but you don't have your deposit and your first month's rent ready. Make sure you've got that, and those are great ways to make sure that when you are ready, you can get into that property.
Yeah, good luck to anyone trying to live in London. I wouldn't be living in any big cities right now. I think when shit hits the fan, the last place you want to be is London. But yeah, 3 good tips from that guy there. Shout out Steve.
The most out of touch comments I heard when I was discussing people struggling with the cost of living crisis was, young people should start growing their own fruit and veg in the garden. That would be a solution. I'm like, what garden?
Yeah, who's got a garden?
We don't even have a balcony.
Yeah.
Some people don't have a window in a basement flat.
Yeah.
Like, what garden are we talking about here? There's a real kind of gulf in terms of what some people think the situation is like to what it actually is like.
Well, come up north, brother. We all have gardens up here.
Talk about Perth's rental situation, because this is something that has been on my mind for a while. Perth's rental crisis, I mean, the rental crisis in general has hit everyone really hard. Perth's rental crisis specifically has hit young people extremely hard. So I read this article about Cody, who's living with 8 other people and 8 people sharing one toilet. But
I mean, that just sounds like hell. That just sounds like hell.
regardless of Cody's living situation, she finds herself very lucky in this current rental crisis. Cody has submitted so many rental applications and has been pushed back again and again and again. And Perth's current vacancy rates are at about 0.7%, which has sent rental prices soaring through the roof. The average rental price has increased by about 20%, while wage increase has gone up by 4.6%. How is that making sense? So the current average rent in Perth is about $600 a week. Cody sometimes goes nights without eating food. Her mother works 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And yet she's so grateful that she's able to live in a home where 8 people share one bathroom, because she knows that other people in Perth have it way worse. This just highlights the reality of how bad the rental crisis is in Perth at the moment. Rental prices continue increasing and wages are not increasing to match that. The government has introduced a payment scheme to provide rental assistance, which is a $5,000 one-off payment to help alleviate the pressure of the rental crisis at the moment. However, in response to public calls for rental caps or rental freezes, Roger Cook has said that that will deter foreign investors, and they're the driving force of the housing industry in Western Australia. While that does make a little bit of sense, for me it sounds like Western Australians are bearing the brunt of it, and specifically young Western Australians who are trying to make their way out of their homes and into the adult world and are being blocked by these high rental prices that do not match the amount that they're getting paid or their expected wage. I don't understand how they are going to continue trying to convince us that this is the only way forward, but this is the situation in Perth at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these videos before, guys, but there's a lot of Australian stuff coming up. I'm gonna have to do a bit of more of a deep dive on the Australian market. Leave me a comment though, guys, if you are in Australia. How are you finding it right now?
Owners are moving back into our building.
Another Australian one.
About like 4 weeks ago. So as soon as we found out, we just every weekend and weekday we've just been trying to see places. Yeah.
We've been given a cut-off date as the owner wants to sell.
Very hard. It's very hard. The competition is really high.
And notice this, guys, these are all young people here. You're not seeing any older people. These are all young people just trying to get a place to stay.
I go, there are like 100 of people wanting to inspect the same place. I wasn't expecting this.
Most offers I've put in have been a little bit above the asking price. Not all of them, but probably most. Tried offering, I can pay a few more weeks rent up front if that helps.
Yeah, my daughter's birthday is about a week before the date we have to vacate the property, so we're trying to get the search sorted, find a place and get settled in before that happens.
Are moving back.
This comment here, Yukiko, it's brutal out here. It honestly looks brutal in Australia. Do you reckon the next one's Australian? Let's see. Oh, no,
We've been making offers for flats, and I kid you not, there have been people offering 2 years rent up front.
2 years rent up front, but also we invite offers over 2,500 a month.
And it's
now
like
people are bidding,
Yeah.
It's like we're not buying the property. That's known, offers over was always if you were putting in an offer to buy a property. Now it's happening in rental in London.
All the time, and we're getting just outbid because people can, and I'm not kidding you, they are paying so much money for these places, are literal shitholes.
Yep, and that's what you get in London, people. That is what you get in London. Come up north. Actually, no, don't come up north.
So, if you are about to become homeless, or you are struggling with the rental prices in Australia and you know that you can't absorb another rent rise, I thought I would give some tips on how to become homeless in Australia, because it is where most of us are heading.
Yep.
So my biggest tip would be, do not buy furniture, do not buy towels, do not buy blankets. Use what you've got, get secondhand shit, because when you do become homeless, there is no storage facilities left. They're all taken, so it's really hard to get storage. I currently have my stuff stored, the stuff that doesn't fit on my tiny house bus. I have it all stored in 3 different places, and that's really hard to deal with. So I think my biggest tip was, when you're becoming homeless, a lot of us hang on to our stuff because we consider ourselves in between rentals. I have personally decided to never apply for a rental ever again because I'm only ever going to get 6 or 12-month leases, and then every 6 or 12 months I'll be homeless or in between rentals again and having to store stuff, and I cannot live like that. So I have gone the other route of buying a bus. Thanks to TikTok, it was going to be a caravan, and then I'm living in this bus as a caretaker on a property, saving all my cash up, and then my plan is to buy my own paddock, move my bus to my own paddock, and then build my own home from there so that I don't ever have to go back to rentals. It has been 12 months so far, and I have gone from sleeping in my car for the first week to sleeping at my first officer's house, and then to getting a caravan at his farm, and then upgrading to the bus, thanks to you guys at TikTok over the last 12 months. I have now, today is almost exactly 12 months since I was made homeless. So I am now in the bus. I am on this property that they were advertising for a living caretaker, so I don't pay rent here. I actually do work on the farm and in the house to pay my upkeep. But yeah, the things that are currently bothering me the most are the crap I have stored. Clothing, blankets, towels, sheets. I only need a few towels and sheets in here, and I have an extra couple of tubs that I can store under the bus for when the kids come home. But the furniture is the big one. I currently have in storage a 10-kilo washing machine and a fridge that I paid off over 3 years. That is beautiful, but it is huge and it doesn't fit on the bus. So as much as those new appliances, the housing crisis didn't exist when I bought those. And they're lovely appliances, but I will never get the money back for them. So don't buy new appliances. Get secondhand stuff off the marketplace, because there's so many of us moving so often that you can get a fridge in most places in around 24 hours, a secondhand fridge. So yeah, if you're a renter heading towards the becoming homeless or in between houses, those are my biggest tips is, yeah, get rid of as much of your stuff as possible and just live with the bare minimum, and use that money that you would spend on couches, towels, blankets and all of that, use that to save up for your caravan, because you probably will be in a caravan or a really nice tent soon, and you won't be able to have your couches and fridges and things in the caravan or the tent. So that would be my biggest tip for those of you who are currently heading towards homelessness.
Yep, stressed out woman there, but she's giving some top tips. But if you look at all the comments on the side, and this is why I like going on TikTok, guys, because you can see the real people on the side. I'm Aussie too. I'm about to be homeless, but I have 3 kids, so freaking scary. I'm already there and agree. Dump or sell everything that's not completely necessary. This one, Miss RX. Any tips for multi-generation homeless? I'm disabled, 39. My mum is a carer, 68, and my son is 14. We will be homeless in May. Jeez Louise. I mean, this is just rough. Also learn the facts about COVID-19. What the hell has that got to do with COVID-19? We'll do one more and then we'll look at some previous comments from the community on another video, guys.
It is borderline impossible because rent is meant to be 25% of your pay. On Centrelink, it is 75% of your pay.
We've come to a park in the centre of Melbourne where people are gathering to talk about how hard it is to be a renter in this city.
Looked at maybe 30 places over the span of a few weeks and did not get a response from a single real estate agent.
There are people here who are full-time workers and are spending at least half what they earn on their rent.
I think that currently it's 50% of my income, which is not sustainable, and that is why I'm constantly looking for more casual jobs.
I'm working 2.5 jobs just to make it, and a couple of my other friends in the house are always also working multiple jobs.
There's no quick fix, but Tenants Victoria says the government has to intervene to cap rents and increase housing stock as soon as possible.
You know, I have some quality issues with the house, but I'm hesitant to even bring them up because I don't want to be on the bad side of the landlord.
The front door has stopped closing properly. It doesn't lock anymore, so we now have to enter through the back of the house.
It is a landlord's market right now, and governments are caring more about property investors than they are about renters.
Yeah, rough out there, guys. All these videos seem to be Australia. I didn't expect it to go that way. Like I said, I don't watch these before I watch them. Amnesia, shout out to the OG. I am so blessed to have my unit, Australia. Separate bathroom, queen size bed, kitchen area, lounge area, dining area, bathroom, laundry and backyard. Not that I use it much. All for the equivalent of UK 600 a month. Amnesia, never leave this place. That sounds like an absolute steal. What a load of self-entitled whinging going on here. If you don't like the conditions of the UK housing market, then nobody is forcing you to stay, leave. Bob James, somewhat out of touch there, I think. Oh, another one here. Oh, well, Bob James again. He was big on this one. To those who don't like London prices, there is a really simple solution. Don't live in London. Now, this one's a bit more realistic, Bob James. He is right. If you can't afford London, maybe London isn't for you these days. All right, guys. Well, yeah, I thought I'd just go through some of the community. Leave me some more comments, though, especially if you're in Australia. I love hearing from people. I want to know what the rental crisis situation is like where you're at, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.